Welcome to another episode of Less People. I'm Jenny Russell. So this week is our town celebration here in our small town, and I just spoke at a conference not too long ago, and one of the things we were talking about is using art to make your town better and to draw commerce and increase your economics in your town. And we talked a little bit about our town festival. And so what's your favorite town festival? That's going to be the question that we will use on our poll this week for our podcast. And so what's your favorite town festival and what makes it that way? One of the things that I had singled out as something that maybe made town festivals better is keeping them on the same weekend every year. And I never had really thought that much about town festivals until the ones around here. Some of them are very successful and some of them are not. And I couldn't figure out why certain ones brought all the alumni back and then certain ones nobody goes to. And part of that is, you have a town following and people want to come home, those type of things. But what makes some more successful than others? And I decided one of the reasons is you need to keep it on the same weekend every single year. The Cortland Fun Day is the one I was talking about that's coming up this week, and it is always the last Saturday in July. And why is that important? It's because people can plan for that. So if you're an alumni and you're planning to come home, you always know the last Saturday in July is something that you need to cross off your calendar and make sure you keep sacred so that you can come on that day. There's other festivals like my hometown festival, which actually has moved from the fall to the summer, and then it moved back to the fall, then it moved back to the summer. So it never stayed in the same place. So you might want to come home, but you're like, well, that's baseball weekend, or, oh, I didn't know to reserve that date. So keeping your festival on the same day every year really can make it more successful. Plus, then people can invite friends. So if somebody's driving in from Kansas City, it's really important that they be able to, first of all, know what it is, but second of all, be able to make it worth their while to come. And if they really love your town festival, then they know, okay, I can tell my neighbor down the street that this festival is always happening on that last Saturday of July, and to come with us next year, keep the last Saturday in July open. So that is one thing that I've noticed that makes small town festivals a little more fun, potentially. And then number 2 is make a theme. The shirts for each town festival, those can be really, really fun, but if you it's harder to come up with ideas if you have just the name every single year. So, for instance, in this example, Cortland Fun Day. Next year's is Cortland Fun Day in purple, and this year's is Cortland Fun Day in pink, and next year's is Cortland Fun Day in red. So it gets a little harder to be creative with your particular festival shirt when that's all you have to go on is the color change. And then there's not a lot of name changes. There's not a lot of pictures you can change. I don't know. It just gets harder to be creative. And then it's also harder to, want to get a shirt every year, get a hat every year when it's exactly the same thing. So what we have found is that making a theme for your festival every year and then making the shirt of that theme and then just adding the tagline is a little bit easier to be creative in. Plus, it makes the merchandise a lot more in demand when you have all kinds of, you want the new shirt, you want the new theme every single year. And there's a lot of things you can do with it to be creative. For instance, one year they had a Sasquatch theme, and of course Sasquatches hide, and so they made it a glow-in-the-dark shirt so that you can see in the dark and find the Sasquatch. So I mean, just little fun spins on it help a lot in being able to get merchandise to sell. So number one was keep the festival on the same weekend every single year so people can plan. Number two is get your merchandise and make a theme so that people can get behind your merchandise a little bit more and go buy it. We also talked about different art and different aspects. We've had a art center in town since the 1980s, and of course the people who run that come and go. The original gal who had the art center actually had I believe 6 kids, and she wanted something to expand her horizons a little bit and have something to do with her kids. And of course, when you have small children, it seems to be the time you have the least amount of time to spend on things. But she was very much behind it and kind of kept the art center going all those years and really was a champion for all the programming. So having a champion for your festival is important as well. Having a committee is even more important. I know when we lived in a different town, my husband was in charge from the bank of the town festival, and definitely it wasn't as enjoyable for us. I always say, if you're going to have fun at somebody's town festival, go to somebody else's because you're often the one doing all the work for yours. And not saying somebody is not doing the work, especially in a small town for a festival, but if you can share the load, it's a lot easier. So there's a festival committee that meets pretty much year-round. Of course, meet a little bit more frequently when it comes to the actual conference and getting it all done. But having that is really helpful, and having a champion of a program that keeps some consistency is important as well. So get creative. If you don't have a lot of money behind your festival, get some local town artisans or local town musicians to play. I know we're really blessed around here. We've got a lot of people who sing and a lot of people who play guitar, and that makes it easier to find those people. But we use the money from the Fun Day Beer Garden to pay for the musicians every year, so that gets a little easier as time goes on because you start to build a little bank of money. But you get better and better at it, and make sure you have those traditions that carry over from year to year. Not only the date carries over from year to year in terms of the weekend it falls on, but also the traditions like the regular Friday night dinner or the regular Saturday night thing. Those things stay consistent, so people start to know what to look forward to. And the corn pile, that's something for kids. They just dump corn on the ground and put a whole bunch of quarters in. Yes, your kids turn out very, very dirty, but it's something that we always know is going to be on Saturday night. So get creative, even if you don't have a carnival or something like that. You can still have a great town celebration. Incorporate some of the ideas about keeping it on the same weekend, getting it as a theme, having a committee that's really consistent every single year so that you don't have to recreate the wheel every year. So it's festival season. It's festival season in the Midwest. It's festival season in Kansas, and we hope that you are having a super fun summer. If you want to come to Republic County, where I'm from we've got some really fun events. Go check out our tourism page. But I know there are some great town festivals out there. So answer the question this week. Does your town have a festival? And what is what is your favorite town festival in the area, in a rural area? And we'd love to hear what your ideas are and what your favorites are. All right. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you on the next episode of Less People.